Hi there, Prairie Plant Girl here. Today I'm going to be planting some of my petunias. I planted a few on Friday and now it's Monday and I need to get the rest done, but I wanted to bring you along so you could see how it's done. I've been growing petunias from seed for many years now. I would say probably 4 or 5 years maybe, and I find it to be a fairly easy process, but I know that there are some of you out there who have difficulty with it, so I thought I would just show you what I do and perhaps it can help you with your own petunia seedlings. Petunias can easily be purchased. I've purchased mine online from Hex Seed Seeds. I had some I sowed the other day that were from Mackenzie Seeds, just from the store shelf. I've purchased them from TT Seeds before. You can get them from a lot of places, and usually if you purchase your petunia seeds, they will come pelleted. So if they're pelleted, they're going to come in a little vial, usually like this, or sometimes in a little kind of like a wax paper packaging or something, some sort of other envelope inside of the main seed package. And it just means that they've had some sort of coating put around the individual seeds. And mostly with petunias, that's to make them just a little bit larger. It will help them to have a better chance of germinating, because they won't dry out as easily while they're waiting to germinate, and they won't blow away or move away. You'll know how many you're putting in each place, which can be very advantageous. I collected some petunia seeds last year, and that's part of the seeds that I sowed on Friday. So I'm going to show you a little picture of what they looked like in my hand. They're extremely tiny, like dust. And when you collect them like that yourself, it's going to probably be easiest just to sprinkle many seeds across the top of each of your seed cells and then thin them out later. With seeds like this, they can be quite precious. This package says it has about 10 seeds in it, and I probably paid around $4, $5 for it. I can't remember exactly because I ordered them months ago. When you're doing it like this, you can take each individual seed when they're pelleted and place them in each space to make sure that you have seeds in each of your cells. Now, I find petunia seeds almost always when I purchase them from these reputable retailers, they usually have a really high germination rate. And so I just put one in each little cell. I used to do, a couple, which is what I do with most things, but because they are quite costly, I like to just put one in each space, and usually they'll come up for me that way, and then I'm not messing around with trying to move them around later. The one thing that I think people have trouble with petunias is they need to be surface sown, which means that you need to just put them on top of the soil. You can gently tap them down a little bit if you want once you've seeded them. And then you need to leave them exposed to light. So with a lot of my seeds, I put a little bit of fine vermiculite on top of the soil surface once I'm finished sowing the seeds. And if I am using pelleted seed with petunias, then I might do a little ring of it around the pellet. When I'm using just my own collected seed, I don't even want to do that because they are such a fine seed and they do need light to germinate. So you want to make sure they're not covered at all. It's easy, especially with the collected seed that's not pelleted, to cover the seedlings up and they won't be able to get to the light. Another thing, because they are such a small, fine seed, is I have filled my containers, but then I've put water in the bottom and I'll make sure they're nice and moist before I start. And then I'm not going to, usually I would take out like a spray bottle after I've sown seeds and spray on top of the seeds, but I'm not going to do that with my petunias. I'm going to let them just sit there so I don't run the chance of spraying the seeds off of the soil or covering them with the soil. They really need that light. So what I've used for these seeds is I've just used yogurt containers. These are just individual serving size yogurt containers. I've drilled a hole in the bottom. I don't know, like a centimeter size hole probably. And I just have these set in the tray. They work well. My other petunias that I sowed a few days ago are in just hexagon trays. I'll show you a picture of those. And those work well. Petunias will take a really, really long time to get going. So you'll see the little tiny green little shoot emerge. You know you have germination, but then they just sit like that with their cotyledon or their seed leaves. They can sit like that for a month or longer. And people give up hope, I think, thinking that their petunias have died out on them. But that's not the case. So you just need to just leave them and let them continue to grow and take that time. Once they do start to get going, they will develop, I find, fairly quickly. But it's just that until they kind of get past that initial stage of, you know, the seed leaves or even that first set of true leaves, they can take a very long time. So just continue with just keeping them just evenly moist, not wet. And don't let them dry out because they're very small plants still. And once they've germinated, they like to be put into a cool space, about 15 degrees Celsius, certainly under 20. I'm trying to open the seed container while I talk to you. There we go. And just kept at that point under lights. Of course, they do need light. But if you have somewhere a little bit cooler like that to keep them, that will make them the happiest. So what I have here is the Shockwave Deep Purple Petunia. So this petunia is supposed to be like a wave type petunia, but with smaller flowers that are more like Calibrachoa, or you might know it by million bells. So it's still a petunia, but the flowers resemble those petunia-like Calibrachoa flowers that have a much smaller flower on them. So I haven't grown this particular variety, I don't think, before, but I wanted to try it. It says it grows about 8 to 10 inches tall and 24 to 36 inches wide. So it's one of those nice wave petunias that's going to spread out for us. So here's those little tiny pelleted seeds that I was talking about. 10 seeds it says in my hand there. I didn't actually count them yet. So I'm just, like I said, going to put one and try and center it somewhat in the center of each of these little things here. Oops, I got two there. Take one over here. Now, if this is too delicate for you, some people have trouble picking the seeds up with their hands. You can take like a skewer, and I'm just going to get it wet from a little bit of water in the tray and just touch it to your seed. And then you could set it in the soil like that. So you're just wetting the tip, or you can use like a toothpick or something so that just easily picks up the seed and set it down. To me, that's just a little bit tedious, so I usually just go through like this. Now, like I said, the website said that I should get about 10 seeds in each pack, and it looks like I actually wound up with 15. So that's nice to see. I'm going to just pull this one out so I know that it didn't have a seed in it. And I need to get that, get a tag here so I know what's what. So I think I'll put my tag here. So I know the ones on this side are the Shockwave Deep Purple. And now the next one that we have, so this is the Island Waterfall Mixed Petunia. And this has a mixture. The blooms come in lilac, magenta, royal, and white. And these are a Floribunda type petunia. So this one says that it's compact. I'm sure the Floribundas I've grown in the past are not a compact plant. It says that they're good for rock gardens, containers, and hanging baskets. So I'll have to check the sizing on these for you. And again, these are pelleted seeds, so they came in this little tiny vial. These vials can be tricky to open. Oh, and it looks like there's much, much more than 10 in here. So that's good. I thought I was just gonna have a few. I might need more containers set up here. So again, I'm just gonna go 1, 2, a container, 2 fell there. I'm gonna leave it for now. So something I do find with petunia seeds, at least the ones that I've purchased, I've never saved them from seed until last year, so I don't know about the save seed. But the one thing that I have found is that they don't store well, and I find it best just to plant them all and use them all in one season. So I have quite a few left here. I would guess 20 or more left. So I had looked up just the one variety to see the size of these packages, thinking it would be the same, but it's obviously not. So I'm going to need to fill more containers and plant the rest of these out, but I won't make you sit through me doing that. I'm going to put my tag in with these for now. I'll probably wind up moving all of the island waterfall mix into one tray on their own, but what I'll let you know about is a little bit of the care now that I'm going to do. So like I said, I could go around with some vermiculite, and I'll just show you on one, and just do like a real fine kind of ring of it around, and that would help to keep the moisture at the soil surface fairly even, and help to prevent any algae or fungus forming on the top, which, you know, can cause damping off issues, which is a fungal disease for plants that can kill your seedlings. And it can also help to control fungus gnats in the way that if you don't have as much fungus, you're not going to have much for fungus gnats to feed on. But I find it's nice to just let them get germinated first, and then if I feel like I need to come in and put a little bit of that on there as a top dressing, I can do that later. So I will put a humidity dome on here. Let me grab one so you can see it. So push this tag in a bit more. So just take the humidity dome and I'll put it on top. And these will go under lights. They don't require a heat mat. Petunias are a pretty cool weather hardy plant. And they do like cooler conditions to grow. So they're happy to have about 24 Celsius to germinate. That kind of seems to me to be where they're about happiest for germination. And then once they've germinated, and especially once they've gotten their first set of true leaves, that's the first 2 leaves that come out are called cotyledons or seed leaves. And then after those is your true leaves that actually look like the plant leaves for sure. So once they have their true leaves for sure, I like to take them down to a cooler space. When I say down, because they usually go to my basement then, just under a grow light there. About 15 Celsius is really where they are happiest for growing on to the budding and flowering stage. So I usually just put them in my basement under a grow light where it's just a little bit cooler than up in my plant room that's full of, you know, plant lights, and it's just a little bit more humid and warm in here. So that's what I do with them. I take them down there once they've germinated, keep them under a light because they do need lots of light to grow. And I just leave them there until it's, you know, we're getting past any heavy frosts at night for sure. Usually by then they're quite large, and some of them are usually flowering by then. I'll keep them in my cold frame so they're a little bit more protected until I'm ready to plant them out right around my last frost date. Sometimes I'll sneak them out a little bit earlier, but they don't really need frost when they shouldn't really be exposed to frost when they're young, so you do want to cover them up with a frost blanket or a sheet if you're going to get frost at night or during the day. But yeah, I think the hardest thing is just knowing that they cannot be covered up. The seeds can't be covered with soil or anything. They need to be exposed to light. And in fact, if this humidity dome gets really full of humidity inside, I will take it off and I'll wipe it with a towel so that it's clear again, and then put it back on so that that humidity isn't blocking the light from the seeds. And you just want to keep them just kind of evenly damp, but not wet and not drying out. And once they start to, you know, get those few, you get a couple of sets of true leaves on them, then I'll start watering them with a half-strength fertilizer when I add water. And again, I'll just be watering into the tray, and I water them from the bottom. I just find they're pretty delicate until they really start to get going. So once they decide that they have enough roots and they're settled in their space, they're going to really start to put on growth at the top here. And then I quite often wind up just coming and spacing them out. So I would take a tray with this many pots in it, and I'll divide it out into 2 trays so that I can have lots of space between them. And that's one advantage to having them in a container like this. The ones that I've planted in the hex trays, I will have to go and bump them up in size probably before they're ready to go outside. But they do need to be started 8 to 10 weeks before your average last frost. So hopefully that helps you to see what needs to happen with your petunia seedlings to get them started and sown into some pots, and then, you know, a little bit of care afterwards until you're ready to plant them outside. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.